The following program is an opinion program. The opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of this program are not the opinions of the management, staff, and advertisers of this station. Please direct all criticism, concern, and adulation to the hosts of this program.
Welcome to Alabama Politics. This week I am Dale Jackson. I'm a radio talk show host. You can hear my shows Monday through Friday from 5 to 9 a.m. on WVNN in Huntsville. And then the fastest hour of radio anywhere on your radio dial, News and Views, airs on Talk 99.5 in Birmingham and on News Radio 1440 in Montgomery from 10 until 11. And then it replays from 3 until 4 on Talk Radio 7:30 a.m., 103.9 FM, The Ump. In North Alabama. With me, as always, Mecca Musick. She is the CEO of 256today.com. Smart news for smart people. Smart enough not to have like 20 things they have to remember before they say something, but fantastic. Huge fan of the Crimson Tide. How in the world they made it to the Final Four, nobody knows, but there they are. There they are. This is, before we get started here, everyone going into this basketball season was like Auburn.
No, I don't think everyone.
Okay. Sorry, anyone that knows anything was thinking Auburn, and then it's like, here comes Alabama.
No, if you look at it, Coach Oates, I mean, he has been putting together a solid program.
I'm not saying that, but still people thought Auburn was the program that you would find in this situation. It's very interesting to see it. I'd like to see him win the whole thing.
Wouldn't that be fantastic?
It would be fantastic for Alabama. That's all we need is Alabama to be better at sports. That's all we need him to do. We got a lot to get into today. Jacob Morrison will be with us. He hosts the Valley Labor Report on WVNN in North Alabama. Talk about some of the labor issues because there are a lot of them, so we'll discuss that with him. And then I've got a parting shot for you about the marijuana legalization. What a disaster they've created with that. So we'll talk about that at the end of the program. But right now, let's go ahead and get into the 2-minute warning. Listen, Mecca, today we're going to talk a little bit about the gambling situation. We've seen this a lot. This has become a big issue, and it remains an issue in the state. I killed this thing weeks ago. Okay, this thing has been dead for weeks. It is still dead as of now, and they're pretending that they're like, oh, the Senate voted in concurrence, and now they're going to go to a conference committee, and potentially there are members of the House who are like, maybe I do want to do the lottery in spite of all these things that they've taken out. The Senate bill is lottery plus the status quo, which is a bad bill. The House bill is lottery plus a whole bunch of other stuff. Both the Puerto Rican Indians get to do whatever they want in both bills, but both bills are bad. The Senate bill is slightly better. I would vote no on either of these things. It's not going anywhere. It's still dead, but we keep having to be told that we need to talk about it.
Because this is so interesting. If you follow the way these things happen in the legislature, so the House came back with a non-concurrence. Now that is basically just throwing down the gauntlet. They could have amended the Senate version. They could have sent it back. They were like, no, this is a heck no, and now we're going to go to conference.
Good.
And listen. I understand where the House is coming from. They spent months and months and months working on this, and they're like, the Senate looked at it for like a week and then did their thing. I mean,
if only we'd been talking about it for like years.
No, I know. You're not wrong on that. But as far as what is happening, it's very, very interesting. And I think we're going to see, did you see the statements from House leaders? You've got Ledbetter, Blackshear, Witt. Witt came out and said the Senate version leaves $800 million on the table. They're making some compelling arguments, but what's going to happen in committee?
Would you hear my compelling argument about that $800 million? That means $3.2 billion is being sucked out of the community in profits alone. That doesn't take into account, that's just the profits that people would be paying taxes on. So that argument is terrible in my opinion, but it's the argument he's making.
But you got to think about it just from the visual, the sound bites,
and
things
I agree,
like that. It's an effective argument, right, unless you go to it in that.
Unless somebody responds. Look, I think I'm like a lot of people that say I don't have any moral obligation to gambling. I'm a degenerate gambler.
Right.
I love it.
Right.
I love
doing it. Of course. I think we all know this.
It's just a bad bill. These are just, I hear a lot of people say, well, the religious people, what are you talking about? Both chambers passed it. They just passed some different version of each thing.
So what is the solution? Why can't it get done, and what's the solution?
The solution is to just vote for the lottery and let the Puerto Ricans do whatever they want, shut down the illegal gamblers, and shut the hell up. That's the solution to all of this. Now we're supposed to let's move on and talk about Katie Britt for a second. And Katie Britt is saying, maybe we need to tamp down the rhetoric, as it says the guy who just said, shut the hell up. So let's talk about this for a second, Mecca. Political rhetoric. Is Katie Britt going to be the voice of reason on the Republican side? And if she tries to be the voice of reason on the Republican side, aren't other Republicans going to hate her for that? Because fiery rhetoric is literally the reason Donald Trump exists.
Okay.
He lives off of that. I don't think he eats anymore. He just gets out there and dines off of fiery rhetoric. He loves it. And she's going to be saying, maybe we should calm down.
Okay, so I would like you to back up and talk about everything she said. Actually, I wish we had her comments printed out and you could read them in a nice voice, not your regular voice.
Right.
But what she said, I loved it so much. I loved it so much. She's talking about the friendships she's made in the Senate, Fetterman, even Booker. Like, these are people she works with. And I think people forget that our elected leaders, they're humans too. Like, they make friends.
We don't forget that. We don't want them being friends with the people we disagree.
I disagree.
Nope.
I disagree.
I know you do. I know you do. And I'm telling you, Katie, and this is why Katie Britt needs to be the vice presidential candidate. Because if you're a Republican, you want someone that can reach out and talk to soccer moms and things like this who don't like the bam, bam, bam all the time.
Yeah.
But the people who are base voters, the people who are heavily involved in politics, nobody goes, I sure am glad my guy compromised. I sure love this. We talk about it, but nobody means that. Nobody believes that. When they say they want compromise, they mean they want the other side to come to them and you give up a tiny little bit.
I would like more people to be like Senator Britt.
That's fine. And that's why she's going to be, I think, a good person to be in that situation.
An effective leader.
Yeah. I'm not suggesting she can't be the person that leads. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm merely suggesting is I think that it's this whole thing of like we're going to come together and there should be less. That's pretty hard to do when one side is trying to put the other guy in jail.
Okay, I was about to be like, I will give you this. Like maybe the timing for this, call to more understanding is a little off, being 6 months before perhaps the most divisive presidential election. I get that, but nonetheless, I think I want to see more of that going forward, and I'm so glad she said that, and I'm so glad that she kind of put those relationships out there that matter so much. It happens in the Alabama legislature from, everyone. It's not...
John Fetterman, the question I have for Katie Britt about John Fetterman and the relationship is he better now? It seems like he's kind of like back to like a normal human being as opposed to a guy who's dealing with his brain issues.
Well, he's gone through a lot of therapy.
I understand that. I'm saying, is he healed now? You haven't heard anything about him being healed.
That's not even really part of the topic, Dale.
I'm just telling you, I'd like to ask her. If she's going to reference how her and Fetterman are buddies, I'd like to know, is he doing better now? Because I haven't really heard that story. All right, moving back to the state of Alabama. Let's talk about District 2. Let's bring some people on top. Oh, wait, nobody lives there. Nobody lives in District 2. It is a vast wasteland that no human beings actually live in. And you have people coming from all over the place say, I want to represent Congress here. On the Democratic side, you have a guy who up until recently lived in Washington, D.C., and then you have another guy who represents a district hundreds of miles away, Anthony Daniels and Shamari Figures. These two individuals are running for the Democratic nomination. I'm telling you, whichever one of them wins, they're going to have to deal with this in the general election. Okay. That's where this is going to become a bigger problem.
Well, I think it's an issue now.
But they both have the same issue.
No, I think there's a big difference. Listen, Anthony Daniels has lived in Alabama, this is where he has worked and dedicated his life's work, and I think that shows. And also in his position as the House Minority Leader, that is a statewide role that affects all of Alabama and District 2.
Remember earlier when you said there was $800 million on the table, and I said, yes, but that means $3.2 billion has to be profited in order to do that. Yes, that argument makes sense until somebody says, that's fine, but his house is hundreds of miles away from the district.
He's from there.
I'm not arguing any of this. You're correct in everything you're saying.
As long as I'm correct.
If I was Shamari Figures, I would have ran a commercial that had just the entire commercial be, hey, let's go see Anthony Daniels' house. And then it would have got on a screen and it would have showed a car moving on a map up Alabama and then pulling into his driveway. That's what I've done. Because look, you could make I'm just going to make the counter argument here. You made the Anthony Daniels. I'll make the Shamari Figures argument. He was in Washington, D.C., working for Democratic causes, with Democratic administrations and things like that. He came back here with that experience to go back to D.C. and represent
where
his
he has the
community.
$1.2 million house.
Yeah, but that's like having a $93,000 house in Alabama. Okay, so let's stop pretending to act like I saw that. I was like, $1.2 million is nothing. I mean, what are we talking about here? I'm serious about that too.
No,
I'm dead serious.
That was funny and right.
I'm just saying, but we're talking about this like it's like this massive mansion. That's not what that is there. Okay, so and again, neither of these issues are compelling to me if I was a voter. They both
so you think like it's much ado about nothing?
No,
like it doesn't matter.
Right. Well, they both have the same issue. So in this particular
I
case,
disagree a little bit. I think
Okay.
Anthony has more roots on the ground here.
Well, I mean, yes, he's lived in Alabama. He can make that argument, but it's hard to do when it's like, Anthony Daniels. He's the House Minority Leader. Oh, what district does he represent? Huntsville. Oh, okay. Well, then where in the district is Huntsville?
So you think that this could lose the election for either one of them?
I don't think it's an issue. I think it's much ado about nothing. I'm just saying if you wanted to make a claim. And here's the thing. I personally like Anthony Daniels a lot, okay? So I'm not trying to make the argument against him. I'm just saying if I was in this district and I was looking at both these guys, this would mean nothing to me because they both have the exact same issue. If it matters to you, the next round's going to be a problem for them.
Right.
Because whoever wins does live in the district. They're going to have a lot of money. And I'd put that ad together in that race, and you will have it either way. One, get on a plane and fly to Washington, D.C. The other, drive up 65 and go to Huntsville. That's just what I would do. All right, moving on. Let's talk about ethics reform. This is the most boring topic that has ever existed in the history of the world. I thought redistricting was bad. This is even worse, and I am 100% with the Attorney General of the state of Alabama when he says, why are we doing this? Who came up with this conversation? Why are we having a conversation about ethics? Because I don't think that any of these legislators were out on the campaign trail shaking hands and kissing babies, and someone came up and said, when are you going to redo that ethics law that covers legislators? That's what I'm really caring about. I need that done. That's what we need to do. Mecca, did you go to your state representatives and demand ethics reform?
It was me.
Okay.
This is all on me. And I just want you need to quit calling topics boring, because remember when you called redistricting boring, and look where we are now.
I'm just hoping it wills itself into something interesting, like somebody going to jail or something.
Okay, but
well, now you have Matt Simpson and Stan McDonald, a political consultant in North Alabama who we both know. They're going at it on the radio. One of them he's accused Stan McDonald of a felony. Already, so we got that going on, and yes, great. Let's start seeing people get arrested. That'll be the way to go. I don't think this really goes anywhere because I don't think there's any appetite for it. And the more we hear about it, the more we get. The more people are just like.
Well, Marshall has a big voice, and people listen to him, especially on this. But I mean, ethics and the whole ethics, saga in Alabama is so funny. Do you remember the good old days when the legislators could just have anything? We're talking about trips, bottles, meals, anything. And then like the first little reform they did was like, oh, you can't ask for it. You can still do all these things. You just can't ask for it.
Well, look.
And then it went like so far where you can't get a teacher a gift like over $20 or something.
Is their argument that it's too tough? I mean,
that's going to be hard to sell.
The Speaker of the House went to jail for this, okay? So under the current laws. So there's clearly an issue where they're able to enforce here, where they're able to do it. The problem I have is, and you hear these stories all the time, and it's been kind of maybe overblown, but they go to the ethics commission, they're like, can I do this? And I'm, yeah, sure, go ahead and do this. And they're like, ha, got you under arrest. And it's like, so it doesn't make any sense to kind of see it done that way, but that's exactly what's happened in these situations.
I'm not saying it's currently well done or the system is perfect or anything, but I agree with you. I'm not sure where this is going to go.
Yeah, I want to say I think it goes nowhere, but it's already passed one of the chambers, and there's going to be some pressure on it happening. So maybe we see that happen next. I don't know.
It's a nice thing to be like, hey, we did ethics reform.
Well, congratulations, guys. I don't know what to say. When we come back, Jacob Morrison will be with us with the Valley Labor Report. He's a talk show host. He covers a lot of these issues. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to Alabama Politics This Week.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for University Kia. This is my son, Grant. He's a busy guy. Chess, piano, basketball, wrestling, baseball, you name it. There's probably some stuff that I missed that my wife will be mad about, but here's the thing. It's important to have reliable transportation. And my friends at University Kia, they take great care of me. I've been driving Sportages my entire life. My wife drives a Telluride now, and it is the perfect vehicle for the busy family. Folks, University Kia, let them take care of you like they've taken care of my family. That's University Kia. Learn more at universitykia.com.
Tom, Grant and Dale Jackson sent you.
Welcome back to Alabama Politics. This week, I am Dale Jackson. This is Mecca Music. And our guest this week is Jacob Morrison. He hosts a show that airs on WVNN from 9:30 until 11 on Saturdays. It's called the Valley Labor Report. They discuss labor issues. It's a pretty interesting program, even though I don't agree with much of what he says, as you're about to find out. But it is still an interesting show.
I always appreciate Jacob's perspective.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
And it's from a labor perspective. So let's talk about labor here for just a second. Jacob, there's been a huge dust-up going on in the South and now in Alabama in particular. You have the governor of the state coming out very clearly and saying, look, unionization of these plants, the Mercedes plants in Vance, that's going to cause some problems here, and we don't want to deal with those problems. And then the head of the UAW is like, yeah, I'm calling out KIV because KIV's screwing workers and the state's been screwing workers and just coming out swinging hardcore. There's going to be a fight here. It's going to ramp up as we get closer to actual voting days and stuff like this. Is it a smart strategy for the UAW to come in here and punch KIV in the mouth?
It's not a bad strategy, certainly. I mean, nobody's going to, it's not like that's going to hurt his standing among the auto workers. Even though Kay Ivey has, she won re-election and she's, a generally not an unpopular governor, it's not a strong support. People are, accepting of Kay Ivey. They don't have strong feelings about her either way. But obviously, for the auto workers that are being affected by, the anti-campaign that she is heading up, they have a lot of feelings about that, and they're very frustrated that feel like their governor is attacking them, that their governor doesn't feel like they deserve more, that they deserve to have a say in their workplace, and so I think it's a good move.
So, Jacob, let's talk about the plant in Vance. What are the chances that this goes all the way through?
I think it goes all the way through, especially at this point. Reuters reported earlier this week that a petition for a union election is going to be filed at the NLRB as early as this week. I have reason to believe that we'll be getting news about that pretty soon. Maybe by the time that this show airs, and the UAW has said that they are only going to be filing petitions for union election once they hit 70% support in the factory, 70% of folks signing authorization cards. And that is a big pool of folks that are saying affirmatively, I want to unionize. It's going to be hard for Mercedes to chip away at that and get it below 50%.
So they go ahead and they have this vote, and obviously, it's a secret ballot and all these other things. Maybe it passes, maybe it doesn't. But they're looking for that first little foothold, right? And then what happens? Are there other targets around Alabama they're going to jump to?
Absolutely. Every single non-union automaker, parts manufacturer in the country is their target. And there are a lot of those, some 50,000 workers in the automotive manufacturing sector in Alabama. And the UAW is looking to organize any of those workers that want to organize. Volkswagen has their election coming up. It'll be over 3 days, April 17th to April 19th. I'm anticipating that they're going to win. And then for those workers, the next step is going to be bargaining a first contract. Same thing for those Mercedes workers. And then, like you said, the UAW at large, there's going to be there's a whole lot more automakers that they're going to need to be getting organized.
Jacob, we've talked about this when you've appeared previously on the show, but talk to me again about the fact about maybe Alabama's historically maybe low interest support in unions and now that growing support? And what do you attribute that to?
Well, actually, Alabama is very unique in the South because we have historically had a pretty average interest in unionization. In fact, in the 1940s, we had a unionization rate of up to 25%, which is as high or higher than any other state in the country has right now today. Walker County in Alabama once claimed to have the highest union density of any county in the entire United States due to the history of the United Mine Workers in this state, of the steel workers in the state. And so there is actually a long tradition of unionization in the state of Alabama, and it's for very many of the same reasons that we're seeing these auto workers want to unionize. These auto workers are seeing declining real wages. An auto worker today makes 10 to 11% less than they did in Alabama 20 years ago. They're seeing worsening safety conditions. They're seeing all of these companies increase their profits. They're seeing the implementation of two-tier wage systems where you have people making $11 an hour next to somebody else 50%, 70, 80, 90%, 100% more than them, right? And so, people are ready to stand up.
All right, so Jacob, this is all moving forward, and I think it's all very clear. But there's some talk about what the automakers are doing in other places and here. What are the actual allegations? What have they been doing? What have the auto workers been doing here to that there are going to be some allegations of wrongdoing?
Allegations of wrongdoing from the auto workers against the automakers, the corporations?
The corporations against the workers.
Yeah, it sounded like you were saying the
sorry, I
workers
apologize.
doing wrong.
I apologize.
That's okay. I had the historic participation of labor unions.
Go ahead, Jacob. I'm talking about what the employers are allegedly doing to the workers. That's what I'm talking about in order to tamp down.
Yes. What are the allegations of what the corporations are doing to the workers?
Right.
Yeah, we are seeing that in Mercedes, the UAW is alleging that the company has withheld protected family and medical leave. They recently actually just settled a lawsuit for the very same thing from before the campaign got started in earnest. They're saying that they're not allowing reasonable accommodations that they had allowed before for people with cancer and things like this. Other corporations have been accused of firing union leaders, union leaders who were pregnant in one case, and those are the kinds of things that we see in virtually every union campaign. There's due to at least one bill in the state Senate, there's a lot of talk about coercion and intimidation in union elections from unions. But there's a truth to be known. You can actually take a look at the unfair labor practices that are filed and adjudicated by the National Labor Relations Board, and virtually all unfair labor practices in union elections are committed by the employer,
well, I think that's
not
obvious.
the union.
Right? I think that's clear. I mean, what? I don't understand why it would ever go the other way, but yes, I think
because the allegation is that unions are going around, the implicit allegation at least, is that unions are going around and coercing people to sign these authorization cards.
Oh, in public.
That's illegal.
Or you'll be in trouble.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Look, there's pressure happening, but the pressure of being illegal on that end, I'm not sure I buy that. But yes, I get where you're coming from on that. All right, before we let you go here, two big events happening this weekend. One is the Final Four. And Alabama is in that. The other, Mecca's favorite event of the year, WrestleMania. And those two things are happening. Both those angles have union stories involved in them, actually. A lot of people are talking about Nick Saban leaving because he didn't like the way the game was going, and there's some talk of unions there. And then you and I talked on the radio show. I thought it was a pretty interesting conversation about wrestling unions and stuff like this. Let's focus mostly on the Final Four aspect of this, though. College sports. How close are we to unionization of college sports?
We're unfortunately, much like with the wrestling industry and MMA, I think we're far away, but we're closer in college basketball than we are in UFC and WWE because now we have an officially unionized college team, Dartmouth. They just won their union election in a landslide, and so I think this is going to be the start. And potentially, we're only a few years away from the total unionization of the NCAA, and I think it would be good for the sport, for the people who generate the revenue to have a say in the distribution, to be able to make some money on that, and to kind of professionalize this game that is bringing in and creating millions and billions of dollars.
I think you'll see a lot of players make a lot of money and a lot of teams go away. I think that's what will probably happen down the line in all of this. Maybe not. But one of the things that I thought was interesting is Nick Saban. He was supposed to go talk at the Mercedes plant. People were suggesting he was going to go in there and be a union buster. I don't think that's what happened, but he walked away because of the direction the game was going in. Is he a player in this at all, or is that just noise?
A player in the college football stuff?
No, the player in the unionization at all, because they say
Mercedes. No,
yeah.
It does not seem that way. The reports from that meeting were that he didn't even touch on the unionization attempt. It was very similar to other speeches that he's given to the Mercedes workers. He apparently owns some Mercedes dealerships, and so it is not actually the first time that Nick Saban has gone to speak at the Mercedes plant to the workers, and it was a very similar speech as he's given before, and it just kind of a general, like, really proud to have you. Thanks for making me a bunch of money.
Go get them, guys. All right. Thank you very much. You go get them, Jacob Morrison. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your perspective as always.
From the Valley Labor Report, Jacob Morrison. And you can listen to him 9:30 to 11 on Saturdays, and you can podcast him absolutely everywhere. Thanks a lot to Jacob Morrison for being here. Mecca is leaving mercifully. The show will get a lot better. I'll bring you a parting shot on the other side. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to Alabama Politics This Week.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for University Kia. This is my son Grant. He's a busy guy. Chess, piano, basketball, wrestling, baseball, you name it. There's probably some stuff that I missed that my wife will be mad about, but here's the thing. It's important to have reliable transportation. And my friends at University Kia, they take great care of me. I've been driving Sportages my entire life. My wife drives a Telluride now, and it is the perfect vehicle for the busy family. Folks, University Kia, let them take care of you like they've taken care of my family. That's University Kia. Learn more at universitykia.com.
Tom Grant and Dale Jackson sent you.
Want fun, safe, intelligent fitness programming? Want to build muscular strength, cardiovascular endurance, drastically improve range of motion and mobility, and learn proper nutrition to fuel your life with energy and emotional health? Well, come find out why Iron Tribe Fitness is ranked one of the top 5 fitness programs in America. Come find out why personal training and intentionally working on your current movement patterns individually is not only important, it's just another core value that separates Iron Tribe Fitness from other fitness facilities.
To learn how to get your 2-week free pass, go to irontribefitness.com.
Well, welcome back to Alabama Politics This Week. I am Dale Jackson. Thank you very much for being here. We're going to jump into the parting shot here in just a moment. But first, let me remind you, head on over to yellowhammernews.com. Sign up for my email blast, the 7 things you should be talking about today. You'll know everything going on every single day of the week. I'll give that to you. It'll be in your email inbox by like 8 o'clock. So it's the 7 things you should be talking about today. I do it on all my radio shows as well, but you get it right in email form. Go to yellowhammernews.com, sign up for it. Also check out all the other great stuff at Yellowhammer News today and every single day. For right now, though, let's go ahead and get to my parting shot. All right, so the parting shot this week is directed at all the people who are looking towards this marijuana legalization thing that we're doing in Alabama. It has been a complete and total disaster. They have been unable to get it out of the starting blocks. They have been unable to get the licenses delivered. They have been unable to get any of it done. And unfortunately for everyone involved, it is becoming an expensive, convoluted mess. The correct answer is this. Stop it. Just stop. Don't try to fix what you've already done. blow the entire thing up and try again, because the system you've laid out is bad. And if you're having to sit here and retcon it and piecemeal it back together, then you've got yourself a bad system. Now, I know the fear of them doing that is very clear. They won't be able to get the votes to make it happen again. I understand that. You know what? I'm not sure that's the worst thing in the world either, because the system they have now is bad, and maybe nothing would be better than what they're getting ready to do. So they're going to try to fix it. It's going to be yet another failure, and that's just generally a bad idea. Okay? So don't do that. As for everyone else watching and listening, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for watching and listening across the state of Alabama, and we'll see you next week on Alabama Politics This Week.